Welcome to Coastal Delaware, where you can experience 5 completely different beach vibes, all within a 20-mile stretch. What most people don't realize is that living in places like Lewes or Fenwick Island means they're totally different lifestyles, totally different communities, and just completely different ways of life. After selling real estate here for a few years now and helping clients move between these beach towns, I've seen so many people regret their choices because no one's told them or talked to them about some of the crucial differences between the towns. So today I'm breaking down everything you need to know about living in Lewes, Rehoboth, Dewey, Bethany Beach, and Fenwick Island, things like flood zones and local vibes that could really change how you feel about your new home. What's going on, you guys? I'm Matt Lunden, a Coastal Delaware realtor, helping people just like you move in and around the area. And again, in this video, we're gonna be breaking down our main beach towns to help you figure out which one is the best option for you. Now, before we dive into each different town, I wanted to give you a little bit of perspective as to why you can trust my opinion on this. So for starters, my family has been in Coastal Delaware for over 3 decades, and I've not only sold hundreds of homes in these beach towns, but I also experience them just like you every single day as a local, enjoying everything that they have to offer. Now, I've seen how each of these towns transforms from busy summer season to those quieter winter months. I've watched my daughter grow up playing on the beaches, and I've helped countless families find their perfect coastal home, and each one really has a little bit different setup. What really drives me to make these videos is seeing how much misinformation is out there about our beach towns. First, let me give you a quick overview of what we're dealing with here. Starting from the north end, we have Lewes, which is dubbed the first town in the first state with its historic charm and bay beaches. Then there's Rehoboth Beach, which is by far our largest resort town, and it's got its famous boardwalk, it's got a famous restaurant scene. Moving a little bit further south, we're gonna find Dewey Beach, which is known for its water sports, entertainment, and vibrant nightlife. And then just below that is Bethany Beach, which is often called the start of the quiet resorts. And then finally, we've got Fenwick Island, which is our southernmost beach town in Delaware. It's got some of the most beautiful stretches of coastline in the entire state. And each of these towns has its own personality. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which one matches your lifestyle. So let's dive in. Let's kick things off with the numbers, and I have to tell you, they're pretty eye-opening. When we look at housing across these 5 beach towns, you might be surprised about what you find as you start to peel back the curtain a little bit. Rehoboth Beach, which many assume is likely going to be the most expensive, comes in with a median home price right now of about $1.2 million. But the thing is, Fenwick Islands is actually slightly higher currently at about $1.6 million, while Lewes rounds it out at $850,000, Dewey at $1.1 million, then we've got Bethany at $1.3 million. But these numbers really only tell part of the story, and let's talk about what you might actually get for your money in each individual town. In Rehoboth, that $1.2 million might get you a 3-bedroom home within walking or even biking distance to the beach in the downtown area, but it certainly is not going to get you anything that is ocean block or even second block from the ocean. Anything that is second block is probably going to start in the $2 million range and then only get more expensive as you get closer to the coast. Now, if we move up to Lewes, that $850,000 typically gets you a little bit more square footage, but you might be further from the beach. The trade-off is you're often going to get a larger lot, you're going to have more parking, and then Lewes has a ton of historic charm. Now, that number is a little deceiving though because of the size of the zip code. So if we look at just the downtown area, that median price also jumps up to closer to $1.2 million. Now in Fenwick, those higher prices that we see usually mean direct ocean or bay views or new construction. So while it may be pricey, you can often get panoramic views of either the ocean, the bay, or both, something you rarely find in some of the other towns. Bethany offers a mix. You can find both older cottages and new construction homes, but expect to pay a premium for anything within walking distance to the beach. And then Dewey, it's all about location, and depending on where in the city you're located, prices can change pretty greatly. So while we see a change in the housing prices, what about day-to-day expenses? Well, this is where things get interesting. Each town has different options for everyday items, and they might surprise you when you find out the differences. For instance, places like Rehoboth and Lewes, you've got a lot more choices for grocery shopping, so you tend to find more reasonable options there. You got things like Giant, Fresh Market, Wise, Redner's, but then in Fenwick or South Bethany, you might find yourself driving a little bit further for groceries and you have limited choices, or you're going to be paying a premium at some of the local farmers markets. So just things to keep in mind. Now, restaurant prices can vary by town too, again, due to the amount of choices you have. For example, in places like Rehoboth, where you have a ton of choices, you can likely find a place that's more cost-effective than somewhere like Fenwick, where you have a lot more limited choices. As you gain more choices, you can typically find something that's a little bit more cost-effective. Now let's talk about what really matters. When you're living at the beach, the actual beach experience and lifestyle in each town, that they each offer is certainly important to touch on. Now, this is where the differences really start to show up in your day-to-day life. So let's start with Lewes, which is actually unique because it offers two completely different beach experiences. You can either go to the Bay Beach, which we love. You got the Bay. It's perfect for people with, young children, or if you don't want to go in, big waves and that kind of stuff. The water is much calmer. You can typically find parking throughout the area, and the Bay beaches are not typically as crowded as the ocean beaches. And then in Lewes, you've got Cape Henlopen State Park, which is honestly one of the best kept secrets in all of Delaware. The park has these amazing walking and biking trails, or you can go to one of their ocean beaches or the fishing pier or one of the museums. It's just a great spot to be. But something most people don't know is that the parking lots in Cape Henlopen fill up fast during the summer weekends. Like, I'm talking a lot of times by like 10 in the morning, they're full. So the trick is either to go really early in the morning, or you're gonna have to wait until the afternoon when people start to leave. Moving down to Rehoboth, this is probably what most people think of when they picture like a classic beach town. Rehoboth's got a mile-long boardwalk. Again, it's not just for tourists. Locals use it year-round too. You can use it for morning walks and bike rides. However, bikes are only allowed until 10 a.m. during the summer months. And the beach is actually wider in Rehoboth than what you'll find in some of the other towns, and it's meticulously maintained, constantly winning awards for cleanliness and everything else. Now, many people I help relocate here are always thrilled to find out those little local secrets, like how the north end of the beach tends to be less crowded in Rehoboth, or you can actually find parking if you know which residential streets to look at. But I'm gonna keep the parking secrets to myself for now. Now, Dewey Beach, on the other hand, has a completely different vibe from the first two that we discussed. The beach in Dewey is fantastic for water sports. It's actually the only place that's not in a state park where you can surf all day long during the summer season. And then skimboarding is also incredibly popular in Dewey. Now, you've also got the Bayside Beach, which is perfect for paddleboarding, kayaking, and you'll often see people windsurfing or kiteboarding out on the bay as well. As we head just a little bit further south to Bethany Beach, the area here offers what I consider like the perfect middle ground. The beach is gorgeous and well maintained, and while you still get crowds in the summer, it's never quite as intense as Rehoboth or Dewey can get. Now, the boardwalk in Bethany is definitely smaller. It's more family oriented. There's this wonderful small town feel that my clients consistently fall in love with anytime I take them to downtown Bethany. And then finally, at the southernmost end, we've got Fenwick Island, which is fascinating because it feels almost like two completely different towns depending on which side of the street you're on. The ocean side gives you these pristine, wide beaches that feel more private than many of our other beach towns because it's mostly residential down there. And then the bay side offers incredible sunset views and what I think are some of the best fishing spots in the state. I'm not gonna tell you exactly where though. One of my favorite things about Fenwick is how dark it gets at night. They've got some strict lighting ordinances down there to help protect the nesting turtles, which actually means you get absolutely incredible stargazing opportunities up on the beach. It's hard to find elsewhere. Fenwick also has the highest elevation on all of our beach towns, which can make a big difference during coastal storms. Although I use that term loosely because our elevation change across the entire county is very minimal. And it's not like you're gonna see mountains or anything like that. Now, people don't realize that these beach towns offer an incredible community vibe, but I'll get into that in a bit. So first, let's talk about getting around the area. Now, one thing I should warn you about is that each town has its own unique challenges and advantages when it comes to transportation and parking and driving and all that kind of fun stuff. Starting with Lewes, again, you've got the best overall access to Lewes for major highways. You got Route 1 and Route 9, which give you quick access to everything. And for anyone who is heading north, Lewes is going to provide you with the closest proximity to get on the roadway and get, up to Philadelphia or New York or wherever else you need to go. But the thing that's really interesting is that Lewes is becoming incredibly bike friendly over the past few years. And as we look into the future a little bit, we've got the Junction and Breakwater Trail, which connects you all the way into Rehoboth. And I've got clients who tell me that they barely use their cars during the summer because they just bike to everything. And the bike infrastructure is so good between the Junction and Breakwater and the Lewes-Georgetown trails. Now, Rehoboth's access is a bit more complicated, especially during the summertime. Route 1 can get seriously backed up, particularly around the outlets. But if you know, and this is probably a local's tip, but if you know the back roads well enough, you can probably save some time getting around. Just know that the stretch between Lewes and Rehoboth on Route 1 is gonna be a parking lot, especially during Thursday, Friday, Saturday in the summertime. Now, parking is always a hot topic around Rehoboth, and most people don't realize the city has actually added over 1,000 new parking spots in the last few years through clever redesign of existing spaces. However, at times it certainly does not feel like it's enough. Now, Dewey is interesting because it's so compact. You can walk from the bay to the ocean in about 5 minutes along the same street, but during peak season, Route 1 that runs right through downtown Dewey can certainly get congested as well, mostly because of all the traffic lights. Now, the secret here is taking advantage of the Jolly Trolley, which runs between Dewey and Rehoboth. Now, I talk to people all the time who either purchase in Dewey or purchase in Rehoboth, and they love not having to drive or find parking during the summer weekends because they can just hop on the trolley and go to either town and then walk around. Now, Bethany has what I would consider some of the best residential street layouts of all of our beach towns. It's got a grid system that makes it very easy to navigate, and the residential parking permit system tends to work pretty well, although parking is very limited in downtown Bethany. Now, one thing to note, the town has been steadily improving its sidewalks and adding more bike lanes every year, making it increasingly more pedestrian and bike friendly just because they know that parking is so limited. Fenwick, on the other hand, can feel a bit isolated being our southernmost beach town, but that's actually a huge advantage for some people. Again, you're only 5 minutes from Ocean City, Maryland, which it actually borders Ocean City, so it could be less than that depending on where in town you are, meaning you have access to everything in Ocean City as well, shopping, dining, and everything in between. And Fenwick is also working on adding some more sidewalks and refining their bike lanes to make it much safer to walk and bike throughout the town. Now, everything I've told you about getting around these towns is important, but what really makes or breaks your beach life is the community that you'll be part of, and you won't believe the dramatic differences that we see really in each one. Now, before we dive into that, if you're looking for the best resource on all things local in Coastal Delaware, I want you to subscribe to our email newsletter. It's down below in the description. It has the best information on local news, events, hidden gems, and all things that you need to know that are coming to Coastal Delaware, and it's sent directly to your inbox for free each and every week, and you get to know the information before anyone else. Now, this is where things get really interesting because each town has its own unique personality that really need to understand and think about before deciding where to live. Again, as I mentioned before, Lewes has what I would call like historic charm, but with a modern twist. You know, the community here is very engaged. You're gonna find book clubs, gardening clubs, the historical society events. You know, we love going to the parades and events in downtown Lewes, and they really bring the whole community together for those. You know, Lewes is definitely more of like that year-round vibe. The weekly farmers market in Lewes isn't just about buying produce. It seems to be more like a social event where you see everyone from local chefs to families making a morning of it. It really is a cool place to be. Now, property owners in Lewes tend to be a mix of like retirees and a lot of professionals who work remotely. You know, many of my clients choose Lewes because it feels like it's a real town and not just a vacation destination. You've got year-round restaurants, you've got active civic organizations, you know, this wonderful sense of history and community that really brings everybody together that is certainly unique to Lewes. As we take a look at Rehoboth, it's evolved into what I would consider like a sophisticated beach town. Now, yes, you've got the summer tourism, but there's this whole other layer of cultural activities that most people don't even really know happen in the town. You know, Rehoboth Beach Film Society hosts amazing events year-round, and then you've got the Clear Space Theater that puts on professional, high-quality shows that rival what you would see in bigger cities. The community in Rehoboth certainly has an incredible, diverse makeup, which is reflected in everything you see from the restaurant scene to the local arts community and so much more. Now, Dewey Beach, on the other hand, has a reputation for being party central, but that's really only part of the story. Now, yes, the bars and restaurants create a lively atmosphere, particularly at nighttime, but the year-round community in Dewey is very tight-knit, and it's surprisingly kind of quiet once all the tourism goes away. You know, the town transforms completely in the off-season, and that's really when you see the community spirit start to shine through in Dewey. Some of my favorite community events happen in Dewey during the off-season. You know, things like the Winter Gala that raises money for some local charities, or the Dewey Sip and Shop event, which supports our local artisans. These are kind of things that tourists don't often get to see, but make living here really, truly special. As we head to Bethany Beach, we have a spot that proudly calls itself part of the Quiet Resorts, and that really sums up the community vibe. You know, the town has some pretty strong noise ordinances and building codes that help maintain its family-friendly atmosphere and its overall quieter demeanor. And what I love about Bethany is how the community organizes around simple pleasures. You know, things like evening concerts at the bandstand or morning beach yoga sessions. There really is always something going on, and I think Bethany is fantastic. Now, the property owners in Bethany tend to be people who have been coming to Bethany for generations, and it creates this wonderful sense of tradition where you have the same families or same groups showing up over and over. And you'll find the people that buy in Bethany tend to hold on to their properties longer than a lot of our other beach towns. Now, finally, Fenwick Island has what I consider the most exclusive community feel to all of our beach towns. It's small, you can literally walk the entire town in like probably 20 minutes, and that creates this very intimate atmosphere where the neighbors really all know one another and they know each other on a first name basis. You know, the town council meetings in Fenwick often feel more like community gatherings with residents actively involved in and sharing and giving their feedback and trying to preserve the town's character. Now, one thing that really sets Fenwick apart is its commitment to environmental preservation. The community here is very focused on protecting their beaches and bay areas and making sure that the value creates a strong bond among residents there. So you may be thinking, which beach town is right for you? Well, if you're someone who loves being in the middle of the action with endless restaurant options and a vibrant downtown scene, Rehoboth is probably the best spot for you. The city never feels boring, but yes, you'll deal with more tourists and higher prices for that excitement, particularly in the summer months. Lewes is perfect if you're looking for that sweet spot between beach town and historic charm. You've got excellent amenities, a strong sense of community, and great access to both the ocean beach and the bay beach. The housing prices tend to be lower in Lewes than some of the other beach towns, and you're getting that family-friendly atmosphere that most people crave. Now, Dewey is ideal if you love entertainment, beach bars, a more active lifestyle. You'll probably deal with more noise and summer crowds, but you're getting that perfect beach lifestyle with amazing views, access to the water sports, and again, that vibrant nightlife that so many people are chasing. Bethany and Fenwick, now they're the spots if you want a quieter, more upscale beach experience. The housing prices in Bethany and Fenwick are higher, but you're getting a more exclusive, peaceful environment with less commercial development. Now, it really comes down to ultimately like what are your priorities and what you value most in your daily life. And remember, there's no wrong choices here. It's all about finding the right fit for you and for your lifestyle and what makes the most sense for you. So if you're thinking about making a move to Coastal Delaware, whether it's Bethany Beach or Rehoboth or Lewes or really anywhere in between, my team and I would love to help. All my contact information is gonna be down below in the description. Don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions at all. Also, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below to get new videos just like this one, where we dive deep into everything that you need to know about life and living in Coastal Delaware. And then before you go, if you wanna learn more about some of the other nuances between our towns, check out the video ranking all Coastal Delaware towns, and I'll link that right up here. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you on the next one. Peace.